In 1975, Japanese mountaineer Junko Tabei became the first woman in the world to climb to the summit of Mount Everest. Over the past 50 years, approximately 900 women have followed in her footsteps, defying cultural and physical barriers to reach the top of the world. My name is Tori James. I'm the first Welsh woman to climb Mount Everest, and I'm on a mission to shine a spotlight on this little-known but incredible woman and celebrate this 50th anniversary milestone by sharing stories from women around the globe who have also reached the summit of the world's highest peak. Welcome to the First Females podcast, Croeso, as we say in Wales. Before I introduce my guest for this episode, I just wanted to say an enormous thank you to you, the listeners, who have taken time to leave a review and rate this podcast. I love receiving your comments and ideas, so please keep them coming. Today, I'm joined by Saray Khumalo, who is an award-winning South African mountaineer and the first Black African woman to summit Mount Everest and ski to the South Pole. She is a leadership and transformation coach, global keynote speaker, and founder of Summits with a Purpose, an NGO dedicated to improving education in disadvantaged African communities. Saray is a member of the UIAA, the International Climbing and Mountaineering Federation, and she produces her own podcast called Because It's There. Saray, welcome to the First Females podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tori. An amazing work that you're doing to put a spotlight on the women that have really paved the way, which is exciting. I'm honored to be here.
Well, it's so great to be talking to you because our adventure activities have kind of got in the way of us scheduling this call, haven't they? I've been going places, you've been going places. And let's just start off with what's been most recent for you, because you've recently just completed a very special marathon.
Yes, I've just come back from the Great Wall of China marathon. What is interesting, Tori, though, is that the last marathon I actually ran, full marathon, was before COVID. And then I ran a marathon during COVID when we couldn't go outside of our yards. So we were running around the house. It was like a virtual marathon thing that we had in South Africa, which was cool. So this was kind of special. It has a little bit of road running, trail running, and the mighty ancient steps. My goodness, at 36 kilometers, I looked at it and I thought, my life choices. But what a fulfilling journey it was. Yeah.
Wow. And how long did it take you?
I actually did it in about 7 hours. The cutoff is 8. So for me, I don't run to get the podium. I run to keep fit, and it was touristy. It was just special to go through the villages and to finish it. Really relaxed. I could still run after finishing it if I wanted to. So it was really a special one. Yeah. I had an hour more if I needed to still go running, I suppose.
Oh, amazing. Well, congratulations. Are you preparing to do anything similar soon?
So every year I take a group of women mainly up Kilimanjaro. So I'm training with those women. In the next 3 days, I'm going up to the Drakensberg. We are doing the highest peak in South Africa, and then crossing the border to do the highest peak in Lesotho, which is the highest peak in Southern Africa as part of preparation. And then in July, I beg your pardon, I go and do the Otter Trail, which you must come and do in South Africa. It's really a hike on the beach. And then you go into the forest. It's an amazing hike. It's 42 kilometers, good for a trail run marathon. And then after that, we go to Kili and we summit on South African Women's Day. There's a group of American women, there's South Africans. We've got somebody from Namibia, Netherlands, and the UK. It's really saying we come from different places. We are so much the same, more than our differences, and we can support each other. I've been doing this for the past 4 years, and we have so many WhatsApp groups that are still active from 4 years ago of these amazing women. But what I would like to emphasize is a lady from the US called me after we did the hike almost 18 months later and said to me, I'm applying for a VC, that's Vice President, VP's position at my workplace. And I want to tell you that if I had never met you and walked with you up to the roof of Africa, I would never have considered applying. What you did for me was more than just hiking. So for me, that's special, really.
Oh,
I
wow.
found me on the trails. If I can help somebody else find themselves, find their power, and be true to their greatness, then what is there more to life than that?
Absolutely. And I know a lot of your work is about that, making that link between what you can learn on the mountains and then translate into the workplace. And we'll chat a little bit later about some of the things that you're doing in your career. But could you just start by taking us back to your childhood, growing up, and where you got your first taste of adventure?
Yeah. So I was born in Zambia, Lusaka, which is quite landlocked in the center of Africa, to a single mom of 7 girls. And I was raised by my grandparents, who were missionaries. They came from Rwanda, but they were missionaries in the Congo, which was then called the DRC. And as part of the church, so I was a tomboy, even though I was with sisters. I just playing with dolls indoor was just not doing it for me. So I was always on a bike. My grandmother had a bike. She was the only granny that I knew that had a bike. And they bought me a smaller bike. So I always was outside, and we had what I thought was a mountain, but now when I look back, probably a molehill behind our house that I always used to go up and look at the roof and just wonder, what is out there. I then was part of the Pathfinders, which is like the scouts, but for my church, where we did a lot of camping. But it's not camping as I know it today. We didn't have like tents. We went camping. We cut branches and grass to make beds, and we cut firewood to to make food, and it was 2 weeks every year. Absolutely hated it when I was there. And then when I got home, I wanted to go back, and so my outdoors journey, if I look back, started there. But I lost it somewhere. You go to high school and university, and then you have kids and all sorts, and all that went away. And in 96, I visited the US. The honest truth is I had watched Coming to America, and I actually really wanted to go to America because that was the place, and as an African child that grew up with a bit of a sense of self-disbelief, if it's amazing, it's not African, and I got there and I realized that no, we have a lot more than we give ourselves credit for, because I got questions about, do you know my friend from Nigeria kind of questions. And I realized that now we are cleverer than, the world gives us credit for, or than I give myself credit for. And then somebody said to me, have you done Kilimanjaro? And I said, no. And they really went to town about it. And it became something on my bucket list. And that was the genesis of my dream to climb the highest peak in Africa. It was really about, I'm an African, I must be telling that story. Fortunately or unfortunately, my journey into like hiking and outdoorsy like went off the roof because I became an executive. I had responsibilities. I had to, have children, make sure they're in school, make sure, I'm a boss at work. I'm just like sharpening my executive mind and all that, until I lost my older sister. And Tori, that just changed my world because it was sudden, and it got me really introspecting. I don't know whether it's midlife crisis about who I am, what my reason for being is, and the fact that I too am going to die someday. What would I have left behind? And that took me back to growing up, to my mother saying, the sky is the limit, I mean, she grew up in an era, even when I was born, she couldn't own a house as an African woman. So because she loved properties, any property that she bought was either in my uncle's name, neighbors that we trusted's name, and so she taught us as girls to say, you must never allow anybody to tell you that there's a room that you don't deserve to be in. You don't need permission. If you believe you deserve to be in that room, step in, be bold, keep going. Are you going to fall? Yes. But the sky is the limit was our language. And so that evening when I got the call about Florence dying, I remember just asking, am I reaching for the skies? And the answer was no. Yes, I was boss at work, but I was just doing the mundane, what the world expected of me, what my world termed as success. I had a house, I had a car, I had a family, I was a boss at work. But that was it. Because reflecting back, my grandfather, who was a preacher, always used to say, if you don't live a life of service, it's a life wasted. And there's nothing until then that I was doing that wasn't for me and my need, and so I started doing a lot of charity work. I didn't know then, but now that I'm exposed to Simon Sinek's work, I was really trying to find my why. I quit my job. 4 months after that, lost shares because I had shares as an executive. And that journey led me to climbing Kili, but using it to raise money for a home that we were looking after. They looked after street kids. They're still there. And we raised money to build them an outdoor gym because they needed a playground. And we converted a room into a library for the home. And when we did this, one of the kids in the home came to me and said, do you really come from the township? So township is, I don't know if you know the dynamic of South Africa, is like Black people were in the townships and the non-Black were obviously in the suburbs, which were a lot more serviced, not as populated as the townships. And so I remember just laughing and thinking, why would you say that? You're saying that because you think Black people can't swim, kind of joke that we always say. And she says, no, people like us don't do things like this. So I did a TED talk on this. And I remember just thinking, but so who does? She's like, no, exchange students that come from Europe, the US, when they come to their home and they leave, their parents do this. Now, at the time, I was a mother of two, which I still am, but they were younger. And I was still going through this, trying to find me and my reason for being and how I can be of service. And I realized that she was on the money. She had a sense of self-disbelief that I too grew up with. Watching Wonder Woman and Superman and thinking they're superheroes, I can never be. I don't talk like them. I don't fly around. And they do. But one thing that changed, travel and education. I went to the US and I realized they're just human as I am. There's nothing superhero. I mean, I know a little bit more than some of them, and so I decided I'm going to commit myself to raising funds or to contributing in a way to education, using it to ensure that the next generation of Africans, right, are not second-class citizens in the global village. And the only way I can do that is using what helped me, reading, traveling, learning, and understanding that I too can contribute to the world. So that started my journey, that I made a commitment to climb the 7 highest peaks, but use it to raise money for education, hence Summits with a Purpose. Why just climb and take a selfie when I can climb and change my world?
Wow. And you have climbed the 7 summits now.
I have, yes. I finished last year, yeah.
Oh, congratulations. That in itself is incredible. And of course, because this podcast is also celebrating Junko, she not only was the first woman to climb Everest, but the first to complete those 7 summits too. So to have that, commonality between you, I think is so special. When did Everest pop into your mind as being something that might be possible?
So after I came back from Chile, I had a so what kind of moment, right? Or moments, and then one day my friends and I were hiking. We hiked every weekend. And I said to them, I actually want to do more. I mean, I almost didn't summit Kili, by the way, because I did all the wrong things. I thought it was dirty at the time, so I didn't want to pee, so I didn't drink water. It was raining, and I didn't want to get so wet, so I ran from camp to camp. And the summit push was crazy. I had altitude sickness. I did all the wrong things looking back, but I summited. I summited because of the support of the guides and the porters that were there, and because somebody just believed I could, and they guided me along the way, which is why I'm passionate about guiding other people as well. And then when I came back, I thought to myself, I I've done this, and this has meant so much to this young girl and this home that really needs it. How can I create more African kids to do more things that they were raised to believe that they can't, right? And so as we were hiking, and I'm just thinking about how I can do this, I said to my friends, I think I want to do the 7 summits. And they were like, oh, but where do we start? I remember there was 3 of us. And we were like, let's go meet Sibusiso Villani, who's the first Black man to summit Everest. Let's ask him. And I came up with this plan. I said, which is the highest? So I put them in height, altitude. I'm going to start with this and that. And we met the man, and he was going to Everest in 2014. And he said to me, you don't have to, rank them by height. You climb, you train for each mountain differently. If you're going to Denali, you're going to be pulling a sled. Your training needs to be Denali specific. So he's going to Everest in 2014. Are you ready? I'm like, what are crampons? Let's start there. And so I found myself going to Boven into rock climbing, and I went to 2013. I went to Chamonix to try and train with crampons and know how to arrest myself and figure things out. I bought a lot of equipment there. And I came home in 2014. I found myself on Everest, which is when I realized that there's a world out there of mountaineers, male, white, rich, that don't think I belong there. And unfortunately, at the time, 1 or 2 of them actually said to me, are you sure you shouldn't just be going to Everest Base Camp? And of course, I started feeling like, well, are they onto something? I need to kind of prove to them that I belong. And the journey, my first journey from Lukla to Everest Base Camp was not about me. It was about showing them that they can trust me beyond Everest Base Camp. And when I look at that, and just how sad is that? And people would come to, I don't know if you had this experience, into the tent, the dining tent at base camp, and say, oh, but aren't you a mother? Of course I'm a mother of 2, but there's a guy there that's a father of 6. Why are you not questioning him? And why is he? It's probably the breadwinner, And so I realized that it's a world that wasn't ready for girls necessarily, right? And it's a world that wasn't ready for a Black woman.
Even in
They were not
2014.
ready. Yeah, especially for one that has an ambition that equates to them. How dare I dream to step on top of the world like they do? I should be satisfied with Everest Base Camp. And so my journey then became about representation more than giving up. Giving back, I beg your pardon. So yes, giving back has never changed, but representation became important. And it's the reason I went back, not once, not twice, 4 times, because I know the person that will come after me, that looks like me, will do it once, will do it better. Hell, they'll be given the benefit of the doubt because somebody like me has done it before. Just like 1975, when she opened the door and moved the mountain for people that look like me, people that are women, show them that it's possible.
It's hard to believe that you are talking about this in 2014, just over 10 years ago. And you mentioned there, Sarah, that was the first of 3, 4 attempts in total on Everest. I mean, tell us just a bit about your story, because it is one of perseverance, and I want to know what kept you going back to the mountain when things didn't work out for you.
I think it's why I was climbing was important. If I reflect back on 2014, like I said, they made me feel like I didn't belong. And maybe I didn't. I was quite inexperienced. And 16 shepherds died that were a lot more experienced. And I remember just having survivor's guilt. Did they die because I wanted to climb? Did they die because they loved climbing? I don't know. But then why was I saved? Why me? Why these ones and not them? So it was a conflicting time. And the people that made me feel like I didn't belong were just as scared as I was. So a friend sent me a message and said, think about why you have been spared, and that will inform how best you need to move forward. I think we always reflect on what's gone wrong. And sometimes we focus on it so much that we forget to look at the learnings, the reason it's happened, because it's to make you stronger for the next step. Because there's a lot that I learned in 2014. I trained for Everest in 2014 by mainly going to the gym 6 days a week. And then I hiked one day during the weekend. And I noticed that people that were runners and cyclists were a lot stronger. So my aim was I'll go back, but I'll go back better prepared. I started running, I started cycling. Representation became important and part of the conversation, which wasn't before, because I was made to feel like I didn't belong. And maybe I had imposter syndrome because of the conversations that we were having. So that became important. So I decided to go back in 2015, a better version of me in my mind. And also respecting those that have lost their lives in the process, because it's not about being afraid to die that will stop us from dying. We will die anyway. The tragedy is not leaving before that time comes. And so I went back to Everest. I lost a few people that thought I could do it, that were now afraid about the reality of it. 2015, I was between Camp 1 and Camp 2, the earthquake happened. I don't know if you remember that,
I do.
That was crazy. I was in the Western Coombe. We were doing a rotation, touching Camp 2 and coming back to Camp 1. And we actually stuck at Camp 2 because we couldn't go back. The ladders had fell in. The route was just totally destroyed. That trip, I learned about leadership. I'll just share one story that happened. I was with Nawang, was my Sherpa during that year. And we walking on the glacier in the Western Coombe, and the glacier starts shaking. We don't know it's an earthquake. We just see it's shaking. But the year before, there was an avalanche, the Sirac that killed 16 shepherds. So the mind is like, is there a Sirac? And we're looking around, we don't see any. So he puts a carabiner onto my harness and he says, okay, we're jumping. So if a Sirac opened beneath us, which is what we're focusing on, since we didn't see any avalanche, we're going to jump onto the same side so that none of us pulls the other into a crevasse. It felt like 5 minutes. I believe it was just less than 2 minutes, and it stopped and he says, okay, we are fine. And as he's taking his carabiner and we're looking around, Lhotse, Numtse, and Everest all starts avalanching us. We heard the rumblings before we saw avalanches coming. He just starts praying. Oh, Mani Pemeum. I think you know this from the puja ceremony. I remember looking at him and thinking, oh, dude, you're calling your Tibetan God. He doesn't know me. So I'm a Christian. I'm like, Jesus, what's the plan? And it sounds like a funny story, but I always bring it back to leadership, how we show up when the world is shaking around us. When he was saying, Sarah, we are jumping, I was going to jump with him because he had 23 years experience. I was a novice, and he was sure this is what we're doing. My focus was, where is he jumping? And that's where we go. When he started praying, I was like, no, I'm going to the left, he's going to the right. So a big lesson for me. Everest has gifted me with a lot of insights on what type of a leader I would like to be. It's about when I rocked up there, I was an overachiever. I can do it myself. You don't know, let me do it. And I realized that nobody gets to the top on their own. What a humbling realization. But at the same time, not everybody can be your partner. There's some that you need to leave at base camp because they're not equipped to take you to the top, right? There's some that are just cooks, but they're shapers. And also it's understanding where is my Everest. Maybe it's base camp, and that's also okay, right? But anyway, so was stuck at Camp 2 for 2 days. And then we came down, we found a route to come down to Camp 1, we airlifted. I think that Nepal lost over probably 9,000 people that year. And I came home to really, including my family, having family meetings of, should you be doing this? This is irresponsible. Like real conversations. And in the process, I was also like writing letters asking for sponsorships. This is what people don't understand. I paid for most of it myself. I got no's. I was asked by people that look like me that what makes you think you can? We don't do these things. Who's the man taking you? All sorts. And so anyway, in 2016, I couldn't go back because I couldn't afford it. And I always blame my boss. I hope he listens to my podcast. He didn't give me enough bonus, so I couldn't do everything. But unfortunately, 2016, I then, I started cycling and running. I did say to you that that's something I saw was cardio was quite big and is quite big as far as high altitude training is concerned. And so I was doing mountain bike, races, and I fell off my bike, cracked my head. I mean, like my skull was cracked. My eye was almost gouging out. Just such a bad accident that landed me in a coma for almost 3 weeks. That's 2016. Wow. And I remember just waking up and I didn't even think about Everest, because I didn't think I would be able to go back because of my accident. And I started walking. I was in a hospital until end of August. I started walking. Then I started running. I had a Soweto Marathon, entry. I tried to give it away. Nobody wanted my ticket. And so in November, I was able to run 16 kilometers. And I said, well, I'll go run the marathon, but maybe I'll just do 21 because I ran 16. And I got there. I mean, you should come to the South African Marathon. There's a vibe there, like everybody's singing, So I'm like, hell no. Exactly. Come run Soweto or Comrades or Two Oceans. And so I decided I'm going to run the 42. Even if I end at 30, I have an excuse. I mean, I just came out of hospital and I finished 42 in Soweto, and it was a Sunday. The Monday I went to the hospital to my consultant. I'm like, doctor, I finished 42 kilometers. Surely I can still climb Everest. The poor man was like, well, come see me. And he knew he wouldn't talk me out of it. So he was like, come 3 weeks before you leave. And we'll talk about the ENT was actually the one that was more worried because when I was in a coma, when I started regaining consciousness, I pulled the tubes and I hit my vocal cords. So they were worried about my breathing and all that, which is why Everest was not something I considered until I did that 42. And I went back to Everest in 2017. One of the things that I reflect on in 2017 is the fact that, I think I need success is personal. If you try and focus on what the world sees as success for you, you're going to be schizophrenic because the world, different people around you have different definitions of success for you, right? I got all the way up to Camp 3. One of the things that I did, which I didn't mention, is so Everest didn't happen in 2014. I came back home, but I went to Russia and did Mount Elbrus. So the 7 summits was always the aim, not just Everest. 7 summits is more than Everest. And I came home, 2015, the earthquake, I came home and I went to Aconcagua and I ticked Aconcagua. Everest was still elusive. And 2017, I went to Everest. And I almost died. I almost remained on the mountain. I went all the way, 99 meters from the top, and the weather just changed. I remember just going back down with Nawang because I had additional oxygen to say, let's go back to Camp 4. Once the weather subsides, then we can go up again. And we start going back, but I'm not feeling stronger. I'm like, Nawang, but something is wrong. Apparently, my oxygen was actually blocked. So there was no oxygen coming through to me. I was inhaling and exhaling probably for more than 5 hours. And I lost consciousness in the death zone, but very close to Camp 4. He couldn't help me. And he left me there. So some of this is a little bit of hearsay. He left me there, went to Camp 4, got other Sherpas. They came and picked me up and they took me to Camp 4. But our tent, the winds were so bad that our tent that we had left in the middle of the night had been blown off by the winds. And so he put me in a makeshift tent, changed the oxygen bottle, and he went to sleep with other Sherpas. You know, if you think the person has a chance of making it, you stay with them. You keep talking to them, making sure they're warm. But he left me there in a makeshift tent, one of those broken tents at Camp 4. And he just changed my oxygen bottle. And the next day, I feel they're like pulling. They came with a stretcher, really to pick up a body. So somebody's pulling me. So I get up and I raise my eye and I say, Lakpa. That was another ship that had come with two others to come and pick me up. And he says, oh, Sarah, you're alive. And I'm thinking, of course I'm alive. But now I'm hungry because I've been there since 10 o'clock, 2 days, is it 2 days or a day before? So I've been there for over 36 hours. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't had water. People were just coming in and looking and leaving because, you know, they just didn't think I would make it. And I just remember just waking up. He didn't have any food for me, but he had water, gave me a flask. I drank. I stood up. You know how Everest looks so beautiful on a clear day when you're at Camp 4? Like gigantic, like, you know. I remember just looking at it, so close and yet so far. If there's ever a time in my journey where I doubted me, was then. I wondered if all those people that said I didn't belong, I couldn't, if they were right. Because I just could see that I've tried 3 times lucky it wasn't, right? And so I walked down to Camp 2. I was airlifted. That was over. And I stopped, although I continued training, I stopped asking for sponsorships because they didn't give me when I was fine. Why would they when I had a clear shot and I couldn't make it? And in 2015, my younger son, he was 15 at the time, 2018, I beg your pardon. My younger son said to me, Mom, when are you doing Everest? Not are you going? He wasn't asking. He just like, you're going, but when? You know? So I remember just looking at him and thinking, exactly. I looked at him, I'm like,
kids,
I can't.
they hold you to account, don't they? You know?
They do. He plays soccer and I always say, oh, it didn't work out. Go back, try it. So I can't say I've given up. So I said to him 2020, and in 2019, I decided to go back. There's a lot of things I did differently. I didn't go with somebody just because they have 23 years experience and they're a Sherpa. I looked at, are they a guide? Because the 1%, 99% of the time when everything goes right, it doesn't matter who is with you. The 1% when things go wrong, you need the right guide behind you, right? So I went with Noah Hanna, who was an Irishman. There was 4 of us. It was Noel, Jenny, and Seamus. And I also insisted on being part of every decision. So we need to get to Camp 1 by what time? And I wasn't going to run around following other people. I was going to run my race. And I also didn't take anything for granted because I saw that I had gone 99 meters South Summit, where you can see the summit, and I didn't make it. So I can't take anything for granted. It's like, let me get to Camp 1, let me celebrate. Let me get to Camp 2, let me celebrate. And, you know, and on the 16th of May, 2019, someone like me was able to stand on top of the world. Wow. What an emotional day it was.
Well, what you've just described, Sarah, is a emotional roller coaster from getting so tantalizingly close in 2017 and somehow being able to get your head around the fact of being so close and not quite getting there. And the fact that I guess, you were on the edge, in the death zone that year. Um, it's it, it's a scary place,
It
Camp
is.
4, the edge of human life. And my goodness, yeah, how did you reflect on that? Did it take a certain amount of reframing for you then to go on and be successful?
I think it took a lot. If you go back and look in 2019, I did the least Facebook posts because I was like, it was about me. It wasn't about the world. No,
Mm,
it wasn't about it wasn't about a world. It was about me and what I wanted to achieve for me, for the libraries, and for people that looked like me. Because 2017, when I didn't make it, a few things happened then. I remember during the rotation, I got so sick because yeah, we ate food that somehow fuel got into the food. So there was running tummies and puking. And so I wasn't doing too well. And somebody, instead of saying, oh, you're not doing well because you're sick, was like, well, but you're from South Africa. What has that got to do with anything? You know, he must take my Sherpa. So his argument for taking my Sherpa and I must be left between Camp 1 and 2, they'll come back for me when they get to Camp 3 for the rotation, is because of who I am, not the circumstance. So it just, yeah, it just took a lot of, I know the world may not understand why I'm going back for the fourth time, may not understand why I'm going back to a place that almost killed me. But I do. I
mm,
know how important it
mm,
is. I am here because other people sacrificed for me. And this is what I'm meant to do. It's unfinished business. It's for
mm,
me. And I'm not going because I think I'm going to make it this time. I'm going because I know I'm 120% prepared, but I'm also prepared for the unknowns, right? And whether
mm,
those unknowns are me making it or not making it, but I'm just going. I think the courage to start is a win for me. And also I was very deliberate in terms of who I went with.
mm,
And I wasn't going to be loyal because I've always gone with this person. I'm going to go with them. But are they the right person for that particular time? If they were not, I was ruthless, you know. And also, I wasn't going to entertain anyone that was going to bring doubt in my space.
mm.
But I
You
will
need
listen.
you need your cheerleaders, you need your supporters, you need the
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if that cheerleader is myself, I'm like, you can do this. You've got this. Yeah, like block, block, block.
yeah.
When I got up there, I remember just reflecting on my mother. She always used to say, the sky's the limit, and how wrong she was. Many
Mm,
times we think what we've seen around us or around the world is how far we can go. We have unlimited potential as humans, as people, as women. And I think the reality is to step into that power, not playing small to please everybody, to make people comfortable. Most people criticize you or question what you're doing because they're uncomfortable. It's their discomfort. Why should it be my burden?
mm.
Right?
And you share your summit day with Junko Tabe, the 16th of May. Um, I know Junko, in her book, she says, "Here is the summit. I don't have to climb anymore." And she describes, she says, "There was no higher place than where we stood, and the sensation was tremendous." Those are the words from Junko's book, Honoring High Places. What was that moment like for you?
For me, it was emotional. I remember I cried and I was like, oh, it's going to freeze. Then I reflected on, on all the doors I thought were closed for me. The refreshing realization that they closed small little windows and left the gate wide open, and that nothing is impossible. And the only thing one needs to do is to understand your vision, understand where you're going, and keep stepping. And not every day is going to be 100 steps at a time. Sometimes it's just half, but take it anyway. But more importantly, it was like, it's done, before realizing very quickly that summit is halfway. We need to still get back down. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. One of the things that I've teamed up with a group of fellow Everest summiteers here in the UK, and a growing group of us actually. We're encouraging people to make their own Junco journey. So climb a mountain, go for a walk. I don't know if is there a mountain on your bucket list at the moment that you think would make a fitting tribute if you were to climb it and celebrate Junco at the same time?
So I'm on a journey to complete the Explorers Grand Slam. I'm only remaining with the North Pole, which has been elusive since 2019. So I paid 2019 was meant to go 2020, COVID and all that. I think that's one, but it's a polar expedition. But I think climbing Kili, the way I'm doing it with women from all walks of lives, all parts of the world, is exactly that. That's what she stood for, because it's people that I'm introducing into hiking. And it's people that have lived a life of, I can watch that, and on TV, I can read about that. That's a YouTube thing that I suddenly realizing that, oh, I too am a superhero, you know, and it's
Mm.
changing people's lives in a small way. And my dream really is to get more and more, especially women, into all these places that are not traditionally our places, that we are making. We're making them the usual. Like, I mean, we don't turn around when we see a woman driving. It wasn't always like that. Why should we turn around when we see a woman saying, I want to go to Mars on my own, or something like that? And that's it. So I think Kilimanjaro for me, because I'm an African, is the highest peak in Africa. And because I've also supported women to set up a company to guide people up Kilimanjaro. So, yeah.
Yes, and that's encouraging women in Tanzania to be mountain guides. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, yes. So the one specific one that's leading it, she is a mountain guide. One of the sad things when I was chatting to her in the beginning about 4 years ago is that as a guide, she has an opportunity to maybe lead 4, 6 trips per year as a female guide. Assisting, she would assist. If anyone gets sick, she's the first to be told to go down. She's not paid as much as the boys. And so I thought this is wrong. So every time I would take a group, I would insist that, can I have female guides? Do you have female porters? Can I have them as part of the group? And now we've set this up, and it's not about reversing what is wrong. It's about giving women a fair chance, but we'll give the boys also a fair chance, right? It's about also being fair to the porters, treating them. I mean, can you believe people have to be told, feed the porters 3 times a day? Like, come on. But we are nurturers. We are mothers. I'm not going to have somebody working with me that I do not feed, and I'm feeding myself. So it's really doing things differently, and partnering with Keep Up, which is an organization that looks after the porters in Tanzania. And I can see these girls from 4 or 5 years ago when I met them. They are a lot more confident. Obviously, they are also getting business skills. They are talking a lot more because they were used to guiding, and they're quiet. They're just following. I'm coming to Tanzania to see Kilimanjaro, to summit Kilimanjaro. Tell me about it. What's the history? This is where you grew up. I want to know a little bit more than what I saw on YouTube. And so it's exciting for me. And I pray that after I'm gone, they can continue that, because their legacy, right? And they shouldn't wait for permission to guide people up the mountain to make a living from the mountain.
Such valuable work. Sometimes you don't realize some of the barriers that still exist to women around the world in entering the outdoor industry, and there being equality, gender equality, and equality of opportunity, um, to be a guide and to access these adventurous opportunities. Incredible work. Um, your your career, your corporate work. I know you have so many valuable lessons. Well, not just for women, but for many people who want to step outside of their comfort zone, who feel that maybe they're not on the right path. They want to do something different. What have been your biggest lessons through your career in mountaineering and the outdoors that you think are relevant to people who want to test, not just test themselves and reach their potential?
Yeah, there's so many lessons. So I've since taken early retirement from corporate. I am an executive coach, but I run my own business now, and I do a lot more adventure travel. After 25 years in corporate, I think one of the biggest lessons, I talked about partnerships, I'm going to touch on something else, is about, I call it being a VIP, right? Being visible, intentional, and present in every space that you find yourself in. Can the world see you? Are you being intentional in everything that you're doing? And are you present? I think many times we take this for granted, whether we are in the corporate world, we're doing our own business, or in our communities. We're waiting for somebody to come and save us. No, you like the buck stops with you and starts with you. And if we all think that way, we're going to be a lot more present, a lot more intentional, and not waste time on stuff that's not leading us in the right space. And when you are visible, intentional, and present, you know spaces that you shouldn't be in. That is not enhancing your power. That is not helping you live your world better than you left it. And in mountaineering, it's like that. I mean, you're walking from camp 1 to camp 2. In fact, you're walking into the Kumbu icefall. You have to be present. It's cracking everywhere. You can't have earphones and the music is going. You have to be intentional where you're putting your foot. Is it safety first? I think we don't take life like that, unfortunately. And when we do, a lot of things look differently, right? So that's a big thing for me. And also giving back. And I call it Ubuntu because that's what I am because you are. And I always tell, especially leaders, that nobody gets to the top alone. And I've been to the top of the world, so have you. There's enough space for more than just one person. So when you get up there, reach down and pull someone else up with you. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go further, go together. I want to go further until the day that I cannot go anymore. And others will take it forward.
Wow. Such wise, such powerful, such inspirational words. I'm smiling here. I can just feel your energy, but also, that desire that you have to give back to others around you, to your community. Wow. You don't stop, do you? Sorry.
Well, I'll stop one day. When I'm dead, I'll stop, and somebody else will take over. I just pray that I would have inspired even one person, to take it forward.
Well, you will have inspired many people, particularly those listening to this podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I have jotted down a number of things that stood out to me. The way that you explained that people need to step into the room, find your why, and that success is personal. The need to do things for reasons of representation and overcoming that self-disbelief, that you experienced. And of course, that the power of education and of travel to change lives and places for the better. And VIP, well, that is going to stand out for me. Be visible, be intentional, and be present. Absolutely incredible to speak to you today. I would love to chat further. We will have to chat further in person on some kind of marathon up a mountain. And I congratulations on everything that you have achieved to date and that you continue to do. And I hope you have a wonderful South Africa Women's Day on Kilimanjaro soon.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And maybe we can do Kilimanjaro together one day.
For sure. I need to go back. I've done it once, but there's many routes, aren't there?
Yes, there is. Absolutely. And it's different every time with a different group and a different route. But there's also many mountains to climb. There's Mount Kenya. You can come to South Africa, or I can come to you. Yeah. Let's keep climbing.
Absolutely. Have you been to Wales before, Sarah?
No, absolutely not. So maybe I also should explore that.
Please do. Yes, come and visit the mountains of Wales. I'd be very, very happy to host you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to this episode of the First Females podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired to step outside your comfort zone, embrace the outdoors, and experience the magic of the mountains. If so, then why not celebrate this 50th anniversary milestone by organising an adventure of your own? Get the girls together, get the boys together, get everyone together. Go for a walk, climb a hill, and remember to share the story of Junco Tabay. I would absolutely love to hear about what you get up to, so please do connect with me on my socials and tag your adventures with #MyJuncoJourney. To finish, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Hugh James and Bethan Lee for all their help, expertise and support in bringing this podcast to you. Until next time, let's honour the courage and determination of Junco and the women who have climbed before us. Dream big and climb high. Hwyl fawr, goodbye.